Okay, so I always forget to say this, but make sure that you are tagging us on your stories. Create FOMO, talk about whatever your aha moment is. So whatever you're learning, talk about it. You want, the people on your team that aren't on these Zooms to get FOMO and start getting on the Zooms because it'll light a fire under their butt, which brings the whole organization up. 2, your potentials to see that you're actually getting training and that you're learning things that maybe aren't typical to network marketing. So I know we talk a lot about your why. We talk about the algorithm. We talk about, tips and tricks and stories. It's not just go bug your friends and family, which is what people assume network marketing is, especially because so many people join and then go bug their friends and family. So a lot of times I think when people hear network marketing, they already have kind of like a bad connotation about it, to where if they're seeing you on your stories and you've talked to them about the business and you're building a relationship, and now they're seeing how you're working and the different trainings that you're getting on, then it kind of opens up their mind a little bit more. So we are talking about your why today. And I know Chelsea and Mandy were both really excited to share some different tips on finding your why. And I don't know exactly what they're going to talk on, but I know we're going to talk about finding your why, keeping your why. I'm going to talk a little bit about when your why changes, because your why will definitely change in this business. You're going to hit a why, right? You're going to cross it off your list. And then it's like, well, what now? The first thing I want to talk about though, real quick, is just staying true to yourself, because drop a 1 in the comments if you've ever heard it used that, hey, I've got 2 spots left for this, or hey, I've got 3 spots left for this. Okay, so that is what I heard and started using a few years ago. And that's what really took my business to the next level, was creating urgency, but doing it in a way that made sense to me. So that's what I've been doing for a while. Oh yeah, I'm at Helping Hearts Homeschooler. I just saw Chelsea drop her link in there, and I think Mandy is going to drop her link in there so you guys can find us on Instagram. But the reason that I do the 2 spot or the 1 spot or whatever is because, 1, we have a kick butt customer program, and I'm not talking about It Works. I'm talking about my husband and I, and it's not a secret. We've rolled it out to you guys. Like, there's a video about it, but I've told potential customers this too, like, you can buy this product whenever you want to buy it. But if you want to be on my customer program, then there's 2 spots left for this. Did you want one or not? Like, I'm not sitting around waiting for you, because this is something that I'm doing for you. You're not doing it for me. So that's the first reason, is I do take really good care of my customers, and I have no problem telling customers that, because we all know you've bought something from a paparazzi person, you've bought something from, I don't know, Unique or Mary Kay, and maybe you've had good experiences and bad experiences. And we always like to kind of lump that in with the company, but in reality, it's the person that you dealt with. Like, we are the face of It Works to whoever we're talking to. So they're not buying the company as much as they're buying you. And then the second reason is because my time is just as valuable as theirs. Again, I am never going to give the impression that I'm just sitting around waiting for you to put an order in. I typically, in the mornings, is when I update my vendors list. I do my 2-day follow-up. Let me make sure everyone's muted. And I check in on all my hosted posts from the day before. So, and then the only other time I sit down and do a work session is the afternoon for our 1 o'clock work Zoom. So when I'm doing follow-ups, I'm always, hey, I've got 2 spots left for this. Do you want one of them? Because I'm only sitting down one other time, other than the time I'm messaging you, to put orders in. So I'm not going to be at your beck and call. I've had people, now this is rare, but I've had people want to put an order in and I didn't see it till the next day, and they get kind of sassy with me. I'm like, nah, girl, like, you had the chance. Now, yeah, if you want to send me your info, I'll put your order in today, but don't get mad that I didn't put it in yesterday. Like, I don't live on my phone. That's the point of this business. So yes, create the urgency, but also let people know, like, this is something you're doing for them. This is something that is valuable. This is not like the Walmart freaking clearance bin. Now, I say all that to say, because about a month and a half ago, I heard another leader talk about how she doesn't like using the 2 spot thing. She just doesn't like it. She doesn't feel good doing it. She puts a lot more of like a personal spin on it. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't use the 2-spot. I don't want to be too aggressive. And tell me why I got in my own head about this, because it was working. It'd been working for years. Why change what's not broken, right? So I was like, okay, like I'm going to put a personal spin on it. Guys, I'm not a personal person. I'm a red. I'm very much like, my whole conversation is to the point. I don't beat around the bush. I don't have a bunch of fluff added. So I started saying basically what the other leader was doing was just, again, a personal spin. So for example, instead of saying 2 spots left, I'd be like, hey, as soon as I get my kid out of the tub, like I'm going to be putting orders in. Are you ready? And it's not a bad follow-up. If you do a follow-up like that and it works for you, do it. For me, it did not match my energy because that's not my personality. One, I'm not ever doing anything in between when I'm working. Like if I'm sitting down to work, I'm sitting down to work. And it doesn't give the same energy of like, hey, I'm sitting down to work right now. Are you ready? Like, that's not really personal. That's the same thing as, hey, 2 spots do you want one of them? Where she works a lot more in the nooks and crannies of her day. And there's not a right or wrong on that. Now, if you experience burnout, I wouldn't suggest working in the nooks and crannies. I would sit down, focus time, and then shut your phone off. I know Chelsea does a lot of nooks and crannies because she can balance that, and it doesn't, like, my anxiety flares up if I try to do that. So again, being true to you, my whole energy changed. And I hated doing follow-ups because one, I was like, I feel like I'm being so freaking cheesy and fake here. I don't want them to really know what I'm doing. And I would create something to do just so I would have something to say, hey, as soon as I do this, I'm doing this. Now, again, if it comes natural to you, you do that. There are people that bristle at the, hey, I've got 2 spots left for this, because they are not naturally an aggressive person. So that energy does not match them. Does that make sense? Drop me a 2 if you understand what I'm saying. Like, something I'm learning with this business is it is not a one size fits all. There are multiple different paths to success. You have to find the one that you actually vibe with. Now, if you're doing something that's not working, change. But if you're doing something and it's not working, or if you're doing something and it is working, don't change just because someone else says that they're doing something that's working. Or don't change because you're like me and you're like, oh, well, theirs sounds way cooler. I want to be more personal with people. Y'all, I had a sale month and a half. Guess what? I switched back to, hey, I've got 2 spots left, and I've already signed 3 customers and a distributor in the last 48 freaking hours. So never again am I second guessing what I'm doing that's working. As long as it's with integrity, I'm going to keep doing it. And like I said, I'm straight up honest with people. If they say, what do you mean 2 spots? Like, hey, you can order the product anytime you want. Shoot, you can go to Amazon and order it. Now, I don't know that you're going to actually get the right product, because sometimes they sell wrong product and wrong packaging. But if you want to order this from me and be on my customer program, I've got 2 spots. Do you want it, or do you want to, wait and maybe get it from somebody else that may or may not ever touch base with you again? And you know how many people I've told that to specifically, and they order from me on the spot because I was honest with them? I do the same thing with distributors, guys. What do you mean you have 2 spots? You can only sign up 2 people? No. But do you want me to actually train you? Like, I don't have time to train 20 people this month. Now I'm down to 2 spots for this week. Do you want it or do you not? If you don't, that's fine. Go vibe with somebody else. But if you're serious about making money, give me a call and I'll get you signed up. Boom, phone call. Literally what I did this morning. So again, just be true to yourself. And that's when we're talking about the whys today. You're going to hear 3 different whys, 3 different perspectives, and 3 different ways to kind of come up with a why. And you may think, oh, well, that doesn't fit me. Then don't do it. Guys, for years, I did not like sharing my story because it didn't fit. It was not the status quo, like rags to riches story. I felt like I did not have anything that was like a boom story. My story is pretty boring. It's pretty basic how I got into the business. What's up, babe? Okay. Shut the door, please. It's pretty, sorry guys, I'm in a classroom / office. So anytime she needs something, she's in here with me. But it's pretty basic. Like, there's no wow factor. I feel like there's no, like, it work saved me from ... Like, yes, it works gave me some pretty cool stuff, but you understand what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like my story wasn't very good. And that's not to say that I don't have a crappy past. I had just already gotten out of it before I found It Works. Like It Works was a part of my story well after the fact. Those of you who do know my story or even don't know my story, I guess, like if you don't know my story, I grew up very, very poor, really crappy money mindset. I was addicted at a young age. I won't go into a lot of details with that, but I made a lot of really bad choices, had a really bad people that I looked up to in my life. I didn't even go past the 7th grade. Like 7th grade was the last grade I actually completed. Now I quote unquote homeschooled, but all it was to keep my mom's welfare, because you had to go to school until you were 16. And then I got a job immediately. Like I was 14 and I was working full time. So from there, I did get my GED when I turned 16. When I was at 16, I went off to college, 800, 900 miles away from my house. It was there that I graduated at the top of my class. I landed a really good job that was really ingrained in personal development. So guess what I started doing? A lot of personal development. I have a teaching background. So I immediately got into teaching like troubled youth and volunteering in different areas. I landed a really amazing husband. We had my daughter, like pretty much I wouldn't say the dream life. Like we weren't rich. We were, I would say, middle class, but it doesn't quite have a flair of like, hey, I was middle class and happy, and now I'm working from home and also like upper middle class and happy. So there are times when you're going to second guess your story, which is your why. And then there are times that you need to get a bigger why, because my first why was very solid. I just wanted to be able to replace my income because I was so sick of dropping my daughter off at daycare and someone else raising her. Now, I didn't share that part of my story for a long time, because when I did, I would get people saying I was mom shaming. Even when I prefaced it by saying, this is my story, not yours. Like, I am not telling any mom that they have to quit their career to come home with their kid. God was calling me to come home and be a stay-at-home mom. And we were making like $50,000 to $60,000 a year combined. We weren't giving up one income for me to come home. It just was not in the cards. So that's where I found It Works. And I just wanted to be able to make the same amount of money I was making at work from my own schedule at home with a newborn. Because did you know a lot of stay-at-home jobs, you have to be silent when you're on the phone making calls for them. Do you know how easy that is to do with like freaking like, I think she was 6 or 8 months at the time? Not that easy. So there were a lot of jobs that I was qualified to do from home, but it was like, I would have literally had to lock my kid in a closet. Like it would have had to been in certain business hours, a quiet house. Like it just was not conducive to our life. And then it really drew to me that they were so ingrained in personal development, because that's something that I knew had already transformed my life. So I like the fact that I could teach other women how to better their circumstances. Because remember, I'm a teacher. Like that is what I literally wanted to do since I was 5. And I made sure everyone knew it. And I went to school to be a teacher after all the crap happened as a kid. So I loved that I could then teach other women to better their circumstances and really design their own destiny, for lack of a better term. I know that sounds a little cheesy, but that literally is what this job gives you. So having said all that, my story wasn't something I shared a lot because I was a little bit embarrassed of it. I didn't want to be said that I was mom shaming, because it's not what I was doing, but it was my story. And now I'm loud and proud about it. Tell me I'm mom shaming all you want. I don't care. I knew I was supposed to be home. I made a way to make it happen, period. If that makes you feel any kind of way, then clearly Jesus is speaking to you through me. Doesn't mean I'm mom shaming. It just means God's using somebody that maybe is making you more uncomfortable than you want to be. And that's why God brought this business into your life, so you could do the same thing that I'm doing. Now, when I replaced my income, I hit my why, and I was like, okay, now my second why is I want to bring my husband home. Guys, let me tell you why stay-at-home moms are the best and worst distributors in this business. Now, no one get salty at me. Let me explain this before anybody jumps off the Zoom and, goes and bashes me online. As a stay-at-home mom, you're already living the freedom. Now, I'm talking about a stay-at-home mom, not because of It Works, but like you were already a stay-at-home mom before you found this. You are already living the freedom that those of us pushed so hard to get while we were in the business. So I didn't have a plan B of how to stay home with my daughter if this didn't work. A stay-at-home mom coming into this, you're already at home with your kids, probably more than one. your husband already pays all the bills. Now you obviously, I'm not saying you don't contribute, like you take care of the kid. That's, for us, it was like $1,000 a freaking month for childcare. So I would say that's contributing first off, but house and dinners and all the things that moms do. But you making a little extra money in this isn't changing your life that much, right? You would be working for your husband's dreams if you're working for like the big income to bring somebody home. The other reason is most stay-at-home moms in my circles. Now I come from like a real religious background. So most stay-at-home moms, they've never had a job outside of the home since they've had kids and been married, which means they've never had a strict schedule they've had to really adhere to. They've kind of been able to come and go as they want and not really have to have like the discipline of the routine all the time. Let me make sure that I am not missing anything here. Oh, and usually they're not great at time management. Again, that's not a dig. That's a luxury because you don't have to be great at time management. I think of Savannah on here. She wasn't a stay-at-home mom before this, but she even talks about like her schedule can be a little bit more lax because she's already at home. Like she's living the freedom and it's awesome. And she did it because of it works. But think about having that freedom before you ever join the company. And you don't know what you don't know. Like you don't know how hard it is to work outside the home and then come home and be a mom if you've never had to do that. And again, I'm not saying your job's not hard. I'm saying being a working mom, in my opinion, sucked. I would have much rather been a stay-at-home mom and like my whole job got to be my babies and got to like be an A+ wife and A+ mom and not feel like I was failing all the time, because I did. I felt like I wasn't giving my family near enough because I was like torn in between two. Now, here's why stay-at-home moms make the best distributors. Because you have more time than a working mom does, as long as you choose to put a schedule out there. You usually are pretty good at multitasking because you're already at home doing all the things with little ones running around. So usually you can, if you're willing to put the work in, you can definitely move up in the ranks quicker than a working mom usually, at least what I've seen with distributors. And then you already have the time flexibility. So you can prioritize the Zooms, where when I started this, I couldn't get on any of the Zooms because I worked during all of them. And it was very disheartening to like watch the replay and see how much fun the Zooms were and then never be able to get on any of them. I was very discouraged a lot of the time. And the awesome thing is if you're a stay-at-home mom right now, you get to pick which one do I want to be? Do I want to be the one that flops in the business because I, have all the bad characteristics, or do I want to be the one that runs the freaking ambassador in 2 years because I choose to put the flexibility and the extra time to work? Yeah. And then, if you're not a stay-at-home mom and you work this business and become a stay-at-home mom, you have to relive both of those too. Let me tell you, I was the first category for a while because I got real lazy. It was hard to have the time management when someone wasn't telling me when to clock in and clock out. Like I thought it was going to be I was going to get so much more done when I finally like got my last day of work in. And then all of a sudden I found myself watching more TV and eating more things. That was a real one. Not having my kid on a routine because I didn't have to do it. Someone else did it all the time. So there are pros and cons to both, but I just want to urge you, if you are a stay-at-home mom, to recognize the privilege. And I'm not saying that in like a condescending way. Like I'm assuming you're very, very grateful if you're a stay-at-home mom. I definitely would have been. But recognize the privilege and use it to your advantage. Because again, God let you have it for a reason. Why not use it? And then you need to get a why that's really important to you, like that you can grab onto, because your why, like my why was being home with my kid. You don't need that why. You're already there. Now, unless you really can't pay your bills and like this is a do or die for paying your bills, which is usually not the case. If you're already a stay-at-home mom, your family is already frugal. Your husband has a real good job that pays a little extra. Maybe you, I don't know, coupon something, like you're paying your bills. Otherwise you would have a job. And usually just the thought of, I'm going to bring my husband home, that why fizzles out pretty quick because it's not a why that you are attached to. It's something you're helping for someone else. So even myself, I will say, y'all, one of my whys is getting my hair and nails done now. Let me tell you how that's probably the stupidest, greediest why ever. But I went and got my hair done today and it was just over $300. My hair is very thick. It's curly. It's long. It takes almost 2 hours to get the dang foils in it. But That's one of my whys. Like, I know for a fact if I wasn't working this business, there's no way in heck I would be getting that done. My nails are cheap. I do them myself. I just order the stuff off Amazon, but I still wouldn't be doing them because I wouldn't have had the time. So find whatever your why is. I will say one of my whys right now is I want to be like a face of network marketing. And again, I don't share that a lot because it sounds greedy. And I think $95. Yeah, my hair is. Now I will say, I think mine is like $225. And then Glory's is like 25 or 30. And then I usually like a $50 tip. So, cause it takes 5 hours and I like to tip generously cause I was in the service industry for a long time. So I think mine actually like just hair costs like $225, but altogether I pay $300 every time I go, which is every like 8 to 10 weeks. And that's 100% paid for by this business because I would not be doing it otherwise, like not a chance in Hades. But anyway, so find a why that you can attach yourself to. Oh, like I said, I want to be the face of network marketing. Like I literally want to be able to stand up on stage and talk to people and say, hey, like, this is what the vehicle did for me. You don't have to be, insert your company here. You don't have to be Miss It Works or Miss Unique or Miss Mary Kay or whatever. But if you can use network marketing as your vehicle to get you toward whatever the heck you want to get to, like network marketing is the easiest and quickest vehicle to get you toward your dreams. And that's why I like doing it. So like I said, I'm not going to share a lot of like how to come up with a why. I think Chelsea and Mandy are, but I do want to leave one tip, nothing to do with your why, but I said that I would show y'all how I've been getting a lot more eyes on my Facebook page. And that's super simple. Drop a 3 if you tell people happy birthday. I stopped doing that for a while because I just felt like it really wasn't an income producing activity. But when I think of it as I'm doing it to spark a conversation and build a relationship, now I'm excited about doing it again. So I've been doing it. And Jessica Higdon actually is the one who gave me this, I think. So when you tell someone happy birthday, what do they always reply back to you? Thanks or thank you. And then what do you send them? Like typically if I just say, oh, what did you do? Kind of comes off as being nosy. Like I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't do it. If someone sent that to me, I'd be like, and you're fishing for a sale. If you just send a heart back, like there's no conversation, a smiley face, whatever. So what do you send to do a conversation? So basically kind of along the lines of what she sends, and then I modified it, was, oh, my pleasure. Did you get to do anything fun or was it just another day? LOL. I know as an adult, we tend to not do as big of things on our birthday as we do as kids. Like I made it a lot more lighthearted and fun. And I usually will send it as a voice message, even sometimes I type it out, but then usually a conversation sparks. Did you know a majority of those people then go creep my page and end up commenting on my giveaway post? Always have a giveaway post on your page, by the way, as well. And I get brand new people to post for me every single week that I haven't talked to in weeks, months, and sometimes years. Because I just created that conversation with somebody around their birthday without being creepy. Rarely does someone not message me back for that. I can count on one hand in the last week the people who didn't respond when I asked them that question. And most of them I had like a 4, 5, 6 conversation bubble length, whatever, with them. So it helped a lot. And then those people were also in my stories. I've had a few of them ask me random questions, even though they didn't comment on a giveaway post. So it literally just gets more eyes on your page, which is kind of the whole goal on Facebook. If you're posting consistently, you want people to see it. I know it can get a little discouraging when you look in your stories and you're like, oh, like 5 people and I'm putting all this work out and content because I have a new Instagram page right now and that's where I'm at. Or if you're on Facebook and you get like craft this really awesome, like bomb piece of content and you get 2 likes and they're both on your team. Not saying it's still never going to happen, but it is nice to have people like actually seeing those things. So that is all that I have to share. If Mandy wants to take it over from there.
Hello, sorry, I'm like all wonky because I'm parked on the side of the road from my parents' house and my parents are sleeping still.
Nice.
But I'm just going to go ahead really quickly and tell my story a little bit because I feel like this goes into context. And I do have not necessarily a rags to riches, but I can relate to Tonya because when I started this business, you guys, I had a partner and he had a son. I don't have any kids of my own and I'm single now. But for the longest time, I was like, yeah, I was already home. I was on work cover, so I was getting an income every fortnight. But I needed extra money. We were $50,000 in debt, and our bills were $1,000 more a fortnight than what we were making. And I was like drowning. I was going to get my car repossessed. I couldn't afford to eat lunch most days. So I do have a little bit of a sob story. At the start, when I was still in that situation, I didn't want to post about it, but I was talking about the excitement and the hope that I had of how like my life was going to be more exciting, because I wasn't excited about life then. And obviously everyone is going to be different. You have to find what kind of gels with you. And like she said, your why is always going to change. I ended up getting out of that toxic relationship because of this business. And I don't say that as in, well, I paid off $50,000 worth of debt and I was out in like 2 weeks. No. What this business gave me, you guys, was the confidence and the people the girl that was making me realize all of these things isn't in the business anymore. But it was the relationships and the awareness of like, this isn't what love is. This isn't what life is meant to be like. We're not actually meant to struggle forever. And I think a lot of us, we get brought up with you have to work 80 hours a week, or, you live off the government, or you just have to work 5 jobs and hope to God that you can pull it together by the time payday comes around again, or whatever it is. I grew up, my parents split up. My stepdad worked. My mum hurt herself and she hasn't been at work basically ever since. So my stepdad was the main breadwinner and he worked a ton. I got my first job when I was 13 because he told me that you go to work and buy the things that you want. You want to get your hair done. You want to get makeup. You want to buy CDs, whatever, back in the day when those things were around. And we'll provide you for what you need. And when I turned 18, I moved out and realized that life is so expensive. But I had no idea. I just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. And I worked 3 jobs at one point, and I was constantly like, I am a hard worker. So when I found this business, I was just struggling, and I knew that I couldn't make any more money. Like I couldn't go and get another job. I've worked in hospitality for forever. And so if you've ever worked in hospitality before, you know that people call you in on your days off. And that probably happens in lots of different industries, but people call you on your days off. They ask you to stay late. They ask you to come in early. And you're always like, well, I need the money. So like, yeah, I'm going to come in. Or yeah, no worries. I'll stay late. It's 2:00 in the morning. But like, I'll be here because I need the money. Right. And what this business did for me and my why was this is like super uncomfortable. I just wanted $200 a month. That's all I wanted when I started. And I wanted to be able to put fuel in my car and food on the table in the same week. I didn't have to pick one or the other. And so whatever your why is, like it has to be kind of like if I don't do this, like you almost have to think about it like it's a do or die situation. Now I know that we're in different countries and stuff like that. And I've said this to my team before. Like if you didn't have government assistance, you didn't have a spouse or parents, maybe your parents have helped you out, because I know mine did. I'm super grateful for that. And this business has allowed me to pay back all the money that I owed them. But think about it like this, like, yeah, if you didn't have government assistance and you didn't have your parents or you didn't have anybody else to help you, how hard would you work? And I don't mean, like Tonya was saying, we don't need to be on our phones like 15 hours a day, but how much intentional time, like you knew when you got on your phone, you were doing your KPI checklist or you were doing your 6 list, whatever goes on with your team, you're doing an income producing activity. And having that right in front of you. I'm a big goal setter. My screensaver on my phone is actually, it's kind of cliche, but it's a picture of myself in the forest because that's where I live in a van. And I'm about to start traveling next week. And it's just a picture of like talking about what I want, like what my dream life is. And Tonya, it's funny that you said about your hair and your nails, because I've literally got that on there as well, like getting a pedicure and a manicure, and that's like $100 gone that I wouldn't be able to do. I wasn't able to do that before this business. My hair costs like $200 because it's so long. And things like that are things that I want to be able to do, or go and buy new clothes because I haven't, I've bought new clothes here and there. But just going, hey, I'm in a new town that's really hot and I didn't pack any clothes, so I can just go to the shops and get them. So obviously my why has changed since I joined. I got that $200 a month. Then I wanted to go diamond. And I really want to touch on this because I don't know if anyone's single here or doesn't have any kids. But I wanted to go diamond, and I was already home. I wanted to bring my partner at the time home, when I knew that deep down that wasn't what set my soul on fire, because it was really toxic and he was super abusive. So I didn't actually want him home any more than he was. But I think we get caught up in this. So-and-so brought her husband home and they're home with their kids, or they're traveling, or, you know, whatever it is. You have to find something that really sets your soul on fire. And it might be you're already home with your kids, but you want to be able to put them in dance, or you do genuinely really want to spend more time with your spouse and bring them home, or maybe you want to go and get your hair and nails done. Whatever it is, it has to be something that really, really like gets you in the feels, because no one else is going to want what you want more than you. I want my team to come home with their kiddos if that's what they want, but I don't want it as bad as them. I can't, that's not my why. So you have to really sit down and figure out what it is and be loud and proud about it. Like Tonya was saying, sure, people are going to be like, oh, like your mum shaming because you want to be home with your kids and everybody else is sending their kids to childcare. You're always going to have them people anyway. You know, I have people that tell me like, oh my God, you're going traveling in a van across the country by yourself. Are you crazy? Maybe a little bit, but that's what I want to do. And that's what sets my soul on fire. And I'm just out here to find the other people that are just like me, that don't just want to travel, but they're willing to go, okay, this is what I want for my life. And I'm going to come hell or high water. I'm going to go and figure it out. And obviously whatever that is going to be different for everyone. But like, you have to sit down and really find what it is and keep it right in front of you. Set it as your screensaver of your phone. I literally have $10,000 written really small on the rearview mirror of my car. So every time I drive somewhere, I know that that's my monthly income goal. I have, I don't know if you can see up there, there's my affirmations and my goals for the month. I set new goals for the month. I set new goals every week. We have that $100, well, it's $100 loyal customer bonus. Like what would you do with that extra $100? And I think that we get caught up with this, oh, $100 would be nice, but yeah, but what would you do with it? Would that help pay your phone bill? Would that put petrol in your car? What would it do for you? Because you have to really sit down and break it down. This is another thing that I did, and I encourage everyone to do it because it was really fun and it made me open my eyes. Do I have it in here? I don't actually think I do. I wrote out my dream life, and obviously that's going to be different for everyone. If you've got kids, it's going to be different. I wrote out my dream life, like how much fuel, getting my nails done. This was no money being a barrier. I could invest, I could get my hair and my nails done, I could go shopping, all of the health, your health bills, all of that kind of stuff. And it worked out to be, I think, like $8,500 or something. And but doing that made me realize, okay, I want this extra $8,000 a month. And this is why. I think we get so caught up when we come in, or when we've been in a little bit, we're like, cool, we ticked off that why. What do we want now? And I did that, you guys. I got diamond. I hit diamond last June, and I was like, wicked. This is all I wanted for like 4 years. Now what do I do? Because I kind of like stopped dreaming. Now I forgot what I was saying. But like writing down what you want and why you want it. What is $500 going to do for you? What is it going to do? Yeah, $500 is nice, but is that going to cover your, I don't know, your mortgage? Is it going to cover your rent? It's one less thing that you have to think about. Is it going to cover your phone bill? Or maybe you guys have got those things. And like, for me now, an extra $100 every week means I don't have to worry about fuel in my van. It means that I have to go and somehow try and get jerry cans because things have gone like haywire with this van. But I don't have to worry about it now. Like I can just go, okay, I need this. I'm going to go and get it done. And so it's a freedom and just the luxury to be able to do that and travel, you guys. I've wanted to travel since I was like in primary school doing school projects. And I was like, I've always wanted to travel. And all of my friends say to me that know me outside this business, you get itchy feet, Mandy, and you want to go. I like waking up in new places. I like meeting new people. And this business gives me the freedom to do that. And I know that doesn't gel with a lot of you, but honestly, sit down and write out what you want and why you want it. And then that's going to make you that's going to set your soul on fire and go, okay, this is what I'm working for. Because if you don't know what you're working for, you're just going to keep going round and round and round in circles.
I love that. The thing I think I love that you said the most is don't have a plan B. Like, if you make this your only plan, it'll work for you. Now, if you guys are watching this and you're just wanting an extra $100, $200, $300 a month and you're making that and you're happy, we're not talking to you. Like, we're not trying to make anybody feel bad at all. You are welcome to get on all the trainings with us. You're welcome to get on the work Zooms and hang out with us. You're welcome to get on journaling Zooms. Like, your why does not have to be astronomical. But the people that quit this business are the ones who they want the big money and they had no emotional connection on how to get it, because that doesn't happen overnight. We've been working, the three of us have been working for years and years and years to get the freedom that this business brings, because we had to keep pushing through so much crap like every other leader in this business does. So if you have a plan B, chances are this is going to fail for you, because you're just trying it out. If you can't, if it doesn't work, you have a fallback plan. And that's why, again, I talk to a lot of stay-at-home moms, because there's a lot of stay-at-home moms on my team. That's why your why should not be something that you already have. Your why needs to be something that you can only get through this business. And I love that you said, write out your dream life. I think Pam Souter talked about this a long time ago. Write out your dream day and what you would do from sun up to sundown if money and time were not an object. That will tell you a few of the things that are very important to you. One of the things on mine was having a maid come and clean our house. Do you know what I do now? I have a maid come and clean our house, because it was something that was blocking me from getting other work done. And I had to sit down and realize, okay, this is something that's really drives my soul for whatever reason. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. I love how you're just so casually, I started this for my life to be more exciting. And now you're freaking traveling around in a van. I would say your life's pretty exciting. And now I'm sure you've got an even bigger why that you're pushing toward. So be evolving. I love that Mandy just said, you can tell how passionate she is about her why. If your why, I don't really like the saying, like, your why doesn't make you cry, it's not good enough, because we all show emotions differently. But when you're talking about your why, if it does not excite you and get you wanting to stand up and scream it from the freaking rooftops, it's probably not your why, and you need to dig a little deeper. Another thing that would help you find your why, Denise Walsh had us do this at one of the little conferences, is write a letter to yourself 10 years in the future. Pretend that you are 10 years in the future and you're writing a letter to yourself now. Talk about what you've accomplished and how proud you are of yourself. And the stuff that is coming in your mind and you're writing down that you've accomplished in the 10 years, that's the stuff that's really important to you. That's the stuff that you should be using to cultivate your why. So there are a few little tricks like that, I guess you can use. Cause I know there was a point I was like, I don't freaking know what my why is. After I replaced my income and came home, Brett was my why. And he told me he didn't want to come home and do the business full time. And I was like, well, I don't even know what to do now, because that's just what everybody in networks does. It's not what everyone in networks does. He wants the freedom of being able to have a hobby job. There's a few things he enjoys doing that he wants to do that's not his job now. So my why had to shift, and I had to dig deep. Okay, what's important to me? Because like Mandy said, you can't have a vision for somebody else. You can, but you can't fuel that vision. They have to want it bad enough to make the change. Whatever you're working toward, you have to want it bad enough to put the work in and make the change. Mandy, if you were talking to a brand new person and they didn't really know where to start with finding their why, what tip would you give them, or what would you suggest that they do first?
Yeah, well, I would do the same thing. Write down your dream life. What is it that you want? Because I think when I started this, I knew, I literally was skipping lunch, and not everybody has to do that, which is awesome, because I it kills me when I hear people say to me, I've had lots of people, I don't know if anybody else said this, but lots of people come to me and just say, can I have $20? I can't afford to buy my kid's medication. I'm like, wow, that was where I was at. I couldn't afford $15 every 4 months for my pill when I first started this business. But writing, if a new person come in and said, I don't know what I want, most people do, they want the extra money, but I ask them, what is it for? Do you want the extra money and you don't have to worry about your rent anymore? Or you want to be able to just take your kids for ice cream every weekend or something? That might not be a lot. It might just be $50, because at the start I was like, dude, I would take whatever I can get. Mm-hmm. I wanted to, but I would take whatever I could get. And then showing them, okay, you can, with these weekly bonuses and stuff like that, with sample cash and stuff these days, hey, you can do that. This is your first win. Now what do you want? And I think taking it back step by step as well.
That's smart. Yeah, when I first started, I didn't believe that I could make a full-time income from this. My goal was $200 a month so I could take off Saturdays. So if you're having trouble dreaming, like I know Tina's on here, I'm going to call her out. She, in the beginning, she told me that she had trouble dreaming and now she's a dreamer. So if you have trouble dreaming, I think a lot of us do when we start this. So I like Mandy's advice, start small and figure out what's important to you. And then you can always build on it. All right, let's jump over to Chelsea. I know Chelsea's been over there purposely like writing notes because she probably has
have
things jumping in as we're talking.
It's crazy. You know what's so funny is I am like, you guys know me, my mind is already all over the place. So the second that I start hearing Mandy and Tanya talk, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could talk about this and I could talk about that. And so like my like whole mind is going crazy right now. So I'm going to start really, really small and just like share my story. Okay. I'm just going to be simple, just like you guys started out with, just sharing my story. So my story actually started when I was younger, and I grew up, you know, not in the most perfect home, I guess. My family was a lot of drama. My friends were a lot of drama. The people that were surrounded by them, we grew up in a trailer park. Not the most privileged person ever growing up. My parents fought a lot. They actually got divorced when I was a kid. And my parents both turned to alcohol at a really young age. And so I started seeing these things all around me and seeing that the money was being drained into things that they shouldn't be drained into every single day. So it's kind of like monkey see, monkey do. I started acting out right around 11, and it got worse and worse and worse until 17 years old when I got kicked out of my house. I had to become an adult at that point on, and I had to fend for myself. And so I learned very, very quickly how to do that. Probably not in the best ways, but I did what I had to do with what I had. Right. And so, I was accepted into like 4 different schools. I had to turn all of them down just because of that. And, so I never thought at that point, from that point on, I never thought that I was good enough to do anything big like this. I never thought that I would be anything big. I always thought I would just be, you know, Chelsea that works, you know, I worked in a nursing home. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts for a little while. I worked at a credit union. I was like a bank teller at one point, and every single one that I worked at, it was just like, this just isn't my thing. And I'm super not shy on social media, but in person I am, if that makes sense. So I'm like completely different than the girl that signed me. So I actually was struggling really, really bad before I started this business. Of course, you can see it started really, really young, 17 years old. I moved out. I was going from job to job to job to job to job. There was a lot of drama going on with my family. My mindset wasn't great because of the people that I surrounded myself with. And so starting network marketing was not like in the story for me. I just didn't know what it even was. A lot of people around me thought that it was a scam. So of course, when I first started thinking about getting started, everybody looked at me and said, when are you going to go get another real job anyways? You know, they throw that out there. And it was just because they were uneducated. They didn't know what this industry was. And so of course they said those things because they didn't know. Right. And what you don't know, you fear, you know, you're afraid of it. And so, I was struggling really bad though, and I needed something. And it was not just struggling financially. Matt and I, my fiance and I, that's who I call Matt. We were struggling, you know, in our relationship really, really bad. My relationship with my daughter was struggling because I was working 70 hours a week, sometimes even more. And I was skipping from one job to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. If you guys hear something crazy, it's my dog. I have 3 of them. Okay. He's chasing flies in the shed. Okay. So it's really loud in here. It's really distracting. So, I was just struggling really, really bad mentally, emotionally. I was going through postpartum depression. I know there's a lot of women probably on here who have been through it. It's really common actually, which I didn't know that until I started in network marketing. And so I was watching this girl on my Facebook, while I was going through this really, really hard time. And we were nothing alike. We actually worked together at a call center for a very brief period of time. She seemed like the, you know, put together type of person. She was a full-time stay-at-home mom. Her husband paid the bills. That was not my life. Okay. So immediately I compared myself to her. I said, well, if she can do it, I can't do it because I'm nothing like her. You know, she just didn't seem like she was all over the place like I was. And so I waited an entire year before I got started. I told myself I wasn't as pretty as she was. I wasn't as put together as she was. I didn't have the privilege of being a full-time stay-at-home mom like she did. And then finally, I just got to this point where I was losing everything in my life. We always wait until, stuff hits the fan before we make a decision, right? We wait until we're literally drowning, until we, make a step forward. And I wrote to her and I said, listen, girl, like, I have no idea what you're doing, but I've been watching you on Facebook for an entire year and I need something like yesterday. And I came in thinking that I was going to make money instantly. Okay. I was brought in on that assumption and she kind of rolled with it. Needless to say, she's not here in this business anymore because of that factor. But I'm kind of thankful that she did get me to come in like that, because I am a very red personality. I need to see the dollar signs. And if I don't see the dollar signs, or if I don't see the vision of the dollar signs coming in, then it's not for me, And so, anyways, needless to say, I came in, I went Ruby within 6 months. I was getting fast start bonuses like crazy. And now I'm a diamond. I went diamond a year after that. And then I brought my fiance's account to diamond a year after that. So we're both full-time stay-at-home parents. He used to be a mechanic, so now he's a full-time stay-at-home dad. And it's really crazy because when I first started this business, like I said, I came from a home where it was just broken, and the financial mindset was not there. They kind of took their money, and the people around me, they took their money and they spent it on things that they shouldn't. They spent their money that they didn't have on things that they didn't need, if that makes sense. Okay. So that's where my money mindset came from when I first started this business. So I'm not going to lie to you. When I first came in, I wanted a new truck. Okay. I was drowning in debt. I was losing my house. I was working 70 hours a week, never saw my daughter, but I wanted a new truck. Okay. It was crazy. And so I wasn't really shown at first how to choose my why or how to figure out what I really needed in my life, because I really didn't know. I was never taught those things when I was a kid. I was never taught the transition from a teenager to an adult. And so I had to figure it out all on my own. And I figured it out throughout this business just by talking with sideline, some upline, some downline, even figuring it out for myself. And one of the biggest tips that I could give to someone is, if you're struggling with knowing where you want to go with this business, start writing things down. Don't keep it inside of your head, because if you keep it inside of your head, it's just a dream. You want to turn it into a goal. So you want to make sure that you're writing everything down. And Manny and I actually did that step together, where we wrote down our bills together and wrote down what we really wanted. And so that was like one of the biggest wake up calls for me, was making sure that I had it written down for myself. So whether you want to pay a bill, or if you want to, like they were saying, get your nails done or your hair done or whatever, start writing it down for yourself. Start putting it out there, because what you put out, you're going to actually accomplish. I think you're like 10 times more likely to actually accomplish something that you write down versus things that you don't write down. And so that's what I started doing. I just made a list and I took a piece of paper one day, and this is really where my business shifted. Okay. At first, I had no idea where I was going, and then it just kept changing and changing. The more books I read, the more podcasts I listened to, the more people that I talked to in this business. Manny and I have been like glue since we first started this business. And so we just talk and we collaborate. Guys, don't hesitate to reach out to Sideline. Ask them what they're doing. Ask them what their why is. Maybe something will trigger for you, So we were talking about it, and my why just, it shifted and shifted. And I literally took a piece of paper and I wrote down every single bill that I had, and I wrote it out, because I knew I wanted to be a full-time mom. I knew that I was sick and tired of not being with my daughter. And I knew, and I could see it on her face, that she was struggling not having me home. And it's crazy, because now even when I leave, she's got stress, she's anxious. She doesn't want me to leave because she doesn't want me to leave for good, And so now I see that I did do a good thing doing this, 4 years ago, and starting this business and learning what my real reason why was. And I started writing it out, and I figured out exactly what I wanted. And from there, I made a plan. So it's okay to come up with a why, great, but now you have to figure out how to execute that. And you have to most importantly figure out how you're going to share that to other people. Because when you are working this business and you are keeping that why to yourself, you're not going to attract people who are just like you. And that's our goal in this business, is to attract other people who are just like us. We don't want to walk around catfishing people. And that was like my biggest thing when I first started, was I wasn't taught that. I had to figure that out myself. So when I first started, all the brand new distributors that came in when I first started were people who were more put together than me. So when they saw me in my natural habitat of pure chaos, like it usually is, they were a little confused, you know? And so in this business, I had to learn how to not only get my why, but I had to learn how to share my why. I had to learn how to share my story along the way and attract those people into my life that were going to be a lot more like me, so that I could teach them how to figure out their why too. Because if I'm over here, you know, my life is crazy all the time. I've got kids, I've got this, I've got that. And I've got someone who comes in who is completely opposite from me. Maybe a little more put together, maybe a little bit more organized, maybe a little bit, you know, their goal is just different than mine, like way different than mine. And I've never even had that thought in my head. It's going to be hard to teach them. It's going to be way more harder to teach them when they don't know who you are or what you're really going for. So being transparent with your Facebook, with your Instagram, on your stories, with your why, and making sure you're transparent with your team too. Putting that goal out there. Your team's not going to know how to, you know, choose a why, or not going to know how to execute that why if you're not putting it out there that you're figuring it out for yourself too. You have to be transparent with them. So I think that's what I would probably say my biggest tip is for that.
So if someone's brand new, how would you help them share their story if they don't have a story yet?
That's a really good question. You know what's so crazy is that I thought that that's what I was going to talk about tonight. So I wrote that down, and then you guys started sharing your whys and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
I feel like a serious mess right now. Okay.
No, that is awesome.
Okay. So I actually go by 5 different steps when I'm on my Facebook. You guys can write this down for yourself if you want. I have 5 different steps that I follow. And it's so crazy because we learned these on our, I think it was our event that we had previously, our last event. What was it called? I can't remember.
The Freedom Series. Sorry, I
muted
not myself because I realized I was chomping ice and I wasn't muted.
That's all right. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the actual corporate event that we had. It was
the boot camp one?
Yeah, something like that. Anyways, they were talking about it, and they had said that there was 5 different steps that they use. What's really crazy about that is that I have been doing that for like years. And then when they started saying it, I was like, wow, like this really makes me realize that I'm doing everything right. And I think it was just a matter of like collaborating with other sidelines. But also, guys, if you're not watching YouTube trainings, you need to get a hold of these, because this is literally how I trained myself in this business. I did not have a strong upline. I did not have someone to hold my hand and walk me through things, or tell me when I needed to work and give me a little nudge, right? Nobody was there to help me get motivated. I had to choose to be motivated, not only, you know, on days where I was excited about my why, but on days where I did not feel like working whatsoever. So make sure that you're watching those, because you're going to learn things like this too, just by watching those YouTube videos. So I start out with just sharing, actually I wrote this down, just sharing my story before I even started this business. And the crazy part is that people are going to relate to you more before you started this business rather than where you are right now or where you're going. They don't know what it's like to work from home. They don't know what it's like to make money from their phone. They don't know what it's like to go on trips or vacations or whatever and have it paid for by their phone. So you have to make sure that you meet them where they're at right now. So I always talk about where I come from on my story. I talk about it on my Facebook post. I'm constantly talking about how, you know, I've had anxiety in the past up until now for, you know, however long. I get really vulnerable with what I'm talking about, and you might not be ready to get so vulnerable like I do sometimes. When I first started, I didn't either. It took me a really long time to share that I went through some really hard financial times. But at some point I had to figure out that most people on my Facebook were struggling too. And so I had to come out of my comfort zone and start sharing those things. So what was your life like before this business financially, mentally, emotionally? Did you have all the time in the world? What were your relationships like? Did you get to do, fun things or not get to do fun things? What was maybe your mindset like? I know that's a big one for me because my mindset was not great when I first started. It was horrible. And I just share these things and I talk about them just in a very short 1 to 2 sentence. Sometimes I'll write a small little paragraph, just sharing a little bit about it. And then, and I relate a lot of this to my daughter because a lot of my why has to do with my daughter, Bailey. And so I talk about it in that light where I was never able to spend enough time with her. I felt like she was struggling really bad to even know who her mom was because I was working 70 hours a week, so I'll share a snippet like that. Number 2 is, how did you find this business or how did it find you? So for me, for example, just like I said before, I didn't go on the hunt for a work from home business. I had someone who was reaching out to me. She followed up with me more than 50 times, guys. So that just lets you know that if you're still following up with people, just know that they're watching you. They're just really skeptical. Okay. So, I always share, how this business found me. I talk about, I was watching this girl on my Facebook. She was doing X, Y, and Z. I wanted to do that too. And number 3, I talk about the things that I was skeptical about or the objections that I had. So you guys heard in my story that I was comparing myself to her really bad. I thought she was perfect and I was not perfect. I thought she was really pretty and I did not think that I was pretty whatsoever. I thought that she had it all together and that she just came into this knowing what she was doing. Guys, it's crazy. Most people think that. They think that we start and know exactly what we're doing. We didn't, right? None of us did. We all started at start. We all started not knowing what we were doing. So I share those. I talk about how skeptical I was. I talk about how I made fun of her for a little while because I was jealous of her, right? I talk about how nervous I was of what people thought about me. I talk about being judged and being disliked or being disowned by my family and friends because that was normal, right? That's normal in other people's lives too. So if it's happened to you, it's probably happened to a lot of people on your Facebook too. We're all in this, we are all alike in some way, shape, or form. So number 4, when I first started, it was a little different than what it's like now. So if you're new, don't talk about what this business has done for you per se. Talk about where you're going. Where are you headed? Because the more that you repeat that, not only to yourself, but on your Facebook and Instagram, you're not going to want to look like a liar. So you're going to keep going so that you can accomplish that, right? And people are going to watch that journey of you saying, I'm going to, I did it, right? So make sure that you're repeating that. And guys, we've got new people coming onto our Facebook every single day. Don't feel like just because you shared your story yesterday that you don't need to share it today. You have to share your story in some way, shape, or form every single day, whether it's on your Facebook, Instagram, stories, TikTok, Reels, whatever. You have to make sure you're sharing your story every single day because people are going to see it at different angles. And especially with the algorithms the way that they are, you're going to notice that you're going to have people coming from different areas all the time. And then number 5, the very last thing that I do is I always invite them into my story. And the way that I do this is I do it really similar to Tanya, what she was talking about. She said she creates that urgency and she stays true to herself. So if you know that you don't have time to train 13, 15, 50 people that month, okay, wean it down a little bit, right? Stay true to yourself. Open up a certain amount of spots every single month. Say, this is what I'm committed to teaching this month. This is how many people. And then I usually just talk about how many positions I have open. And I usually say, I've got 3 spots open to work one-on-one with me. And then I always say either fill out the application below or text and I'll put my number. Or I'll say I'll give them a more specific call to action, like text VIP to and then my number, or text ready to, and then my number. If you don't feel comfortable writing your number on Facebook, I know some people are, some people aren't. Just write, DM me, send me a message. DM stands for direct message. I think most of us know that, but, you always want to invite them into your story, because it's one thing to just say your story, but they don't know that they're welcome to come in here with you. And so it's really important that you always invite them at the end of that. And I do a lot more of these type of posts, lives, stories than I do anything, because I want to make sure that I'm bringing new people in, and make sure that that excitement is still there on my team at all times. So did you have any questions about that? Okay. So that's how I share my story every single time.
I love that. And yeah, I think there's a lot of newbies that weren't around whenever the corporate event came out. So I don't think they've heard those 5 things. And I love that you touched on not comparing yourself, because comparison usually will turn into you telling yourself a lie that goes something like, well, she's making money and I'm not because she got in earlier than I did. She's making money and I'm not because she's skinny and I'm fat. She's making money and I'm not because she's pretty and I'm ugly. Because she has kids and I don't. Because she doesn't have kids and I do. Because she sends her kids to school and mine are at home with me all the time. You can make an excuse why anybody is more successful than you to hide the fact that you're not working as hard as they are. Guys, I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm a little fluffy and I make a lot of money in this business. Like, I would confidently say I'm probably bigger than most of y'all. And that doesn't matter. There are some of y'all that have hit the freaking genetic gene pool. Okay. Now, I don't look at myself in the mirror and think I'm ugly anymore. There was a time that I definitely did, but I'm also not going to lie to myself. I know I'm not a 10 out of a 10. Like, I've got stuff wrong with me and flaws like everybody else does. So have the confidence, do with whatever God gave you, brush your hair, brush your teeth. Like, if you're going to go live on your Facebook, this is a business where people are going to judge you instantly. It's not fair, but that's what it is. But your confidence in the preparation that you put into yourself goes way farther than just the genetic gene pool that you had. Now, there are people like freaking Taylor Kaufman that can put her hair in a bun and no makeup. And I'm looking at her like, you look better than me on the days I spend hours doing my hair. But those are few and far between. And that's not why she's successful. If you look at her Instagram and her Facebook, she works her butt off. So just don't compare yourself, because yes, 1, it's discouraging, but 2, you start telling yourself a story and then you let yourself quit. And then you go around telling everyone, oh, well, I didn't get in early enough. That's why I'm not making money. And the products didn't work and make my hair grow. So that's why I'm not making money. And you just find an excuse eventually to let yourself quit. And then she said to listen to YouTube. That's not just if you're new, guys. I don't care if you've been in for 15 years. You should be listening to trainings at least once a day. And I'm not saying sit down with a pen and paper and spend an hour watching a YouTube. I have earbuds in when I'm cooking. If you drive to and from anywhere, you can listen to trainings when you're driving. Cleaning my house, I do put trainings on when I'm working because it doesn't distract me. If it distracts you, don't do that, obviously. But you can always find a time to listen to something, because what you put in your head is what you start believing. So if you're constantly listening, I don't know if anyone on here does. I know I used to be big into reality shows. If you ever watch a reality show, the underlying thing is always negative. It's negativity is what draws people in, whether they're making fun of somebody, making fun of themselves. They're talking about how bad their life is because they had a baby at 14, whatever it is that you're watching. That's what you start dwelling on. So if you're listening to trainings and listening to other people's success stories, that's what you're going to dwell on. I know Chelsea has a YouTube channel. I have one. Chelsea, is yours just your name?
Yeah, I think I'll drop it in the chat for you guys.
Mine is literally Tanya Gray Johnson. It's nothing special. And if you're sick of hearing from us, because we do put a lot of trainings out and you're obviously on our teams. The 3 that I listen to the most right now are Jackie Deering, Taylor Kaufman, and Stephanie and Joel Dunn. Theirs is called Joel Dunn TV or something. I don't know. But if you search Stephanie Dunn, they'll pop up. I used to listen to Morgan McIntyre and Cheyenne Knox, and now none of their stuff is on YouTube anymore, which is makes me very sad. But you're always going to find people.
I was definitely trained. I just put mine in the chat for you guys. So it's Chelsea Noella, Chelseea, and then Noella. And I pretty much was taught this entire business by Jade Hooper and Morgan Martin.
Jade Hooper still has stuff on YouTube.
Jade Hooper is my life. And now Jackie Deering is like really good.
I just found her stuff.
Yeah.
I like binged 3 of them today while I was getting my hair done.
I've watched like almost every single YouTube channel or YouTube video she's made just because her personality though.
Yes. No, her personality, like I vibe with her a lot.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, hey, we would like probably really get along. And then she was talking in one today about the mom that has like chore charts and all this crap. I was like, I feel attacked. She is talking to me. Like, but yeah, I like her a lot. And if you have other ones, like you guys can drop them when we put this replay, when we post it. Feel free to drop other people's YouTube channels, or if you have a YouTube that you feel like is beneficial, drop it. Unfortunately, Morgan and Cheyenne had a bunch of like cyberbullying going on, where people were taking their videos and like putting them all over YouTube and basically like making fun of them. And so they ended up taking all their videos, privating them, which sucks. Like it sucks that that's the day and age we live in, but that's the day and age that we live in. So hopefully one day they will put them back on the internet and the trolls can go crawl in caves somewhere. So, all right, guys, let me check the chat. Make sure I don't think there's any questions. I think there's just a lot of, hey, we love your thing. Oh, Julie, guys, if you have a minute, pray for Julie Reynolds' family. Her father-in-law is passing right now, so they are going through a rough patch. Yeah, writing out your budget. I highly suggest that. Know where your money is going. It does not matter. I can tell you from experience, it don't matter how much money you make in this business if you don't know where it goes. We got our taxes back one year, like the statement saying how much you made. And my husband's like, so you made that much? Why do we only have this much in the bank account? I was like, well, my boyfriend's name is Amazon and he visits me quite frequently, apparently. And I didn't realize how frequently because a homegirl ain't got that much money in the bank. So that was an eye opener to me. I would highly recommend setting up a budget for yourself and sticking to it. Budgets can be fun. They're not something that you have to like, you know, it's not for poor people. That's what I always thought. Budgets were for poor people. I know that sounds stupid, but that's always why I had a budget. No, budgets are so you're smart with your money.
Can I just share this real quick, Tanya? Yeah. Something that helps you too, if you have not read The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, he actually goes over how to reward yourself in your business. So once you start hitting bonuses and stuff like that, guys, we're coming into boom season soon. We know that there's going to be something huge that drops. It usually does. So when you start hitting those bigger bonuses or your fast start bonuses or things like that, you can see the income disclosure statement for that. You're going to want to make sure you have yourself a budget because it's very easily to take a lot of money and pour it into Amazon. And I think we've all gone through that stage in our business.
I was going to say, are you speaking from experience also?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I first started, same exact thing. I had to learn money mindset. You guys see where I came from, where I started my mindset. I was raised by gypsies pretty much. And so they kind of just went with the flow. And that's not something that you want to do in this business. You want to make sure you take care of your debt. You want to make sure that you take care of your bills, making sure that all the things that you came in the first place to pay for, go pay for those first.
Yes. Remember why you freaking got in, because it was not for that shiny new Coach purse that you don't need when you have thousands of dollars in credit card debt. Mm-hmm. Like keeping up with the Joneses is not a thing. Stop doing it. Mm-hmm. Mike, I love that Mike and Mark talked about this actually, about not basing your lifestyle off of your bonuses. Your bonuses are for debt and maybe a little bit of fun, savings, whatever, but they are not to go get an extra car payment or an extra large mortgage payment or whatever, because they are a bonus. They are not residual income. So as we're going to the boom season, and I've done this, Chelsea's probably done this, I think Mandy's probably done this, where the bonuses come, we're like, oh, we can afford bigger this and better this. And then the bonuses go away because you've already been paid out. And then you're like, man, this business just isn't working. And, you know, I'm not making as much money anymore. Well, no, Sherlock, you weren't making that money in the first place. It was a bonus. So we're just going to be real with you. be smart before the money hits your account and have a plan for it. If you're the spender and your spouse is the saver, have them help you come up with a plan. I think mostly, and this is stereotyping, but I'm saying most, the girls are usually the spender and the guys usually the saver. That's not all the time, but I've seen a lot in different people that Brett and I have counseled with marriage, and usually that's the case. We just like to spend money. So get your husband involved. Like, hey, I'm going to work for this bonus. What should we do with it when we get it? And how much can I spend? Because I do want to spend some on myself because I'm the one working for it. That's okay to have that conversation. I have a percentage of my bonuses that I can spend on whatever the heck I want, because that's what motivates me to keep working now that I've hit like some of the bigger goals. You have to be allowed to reward yourself. I listened to the Millionaire Mind. I need to actually read it because I've heard things like you just said that and I don't remember that part. So I need to actually read it. Guys, we kept you a little longer than 15 minutes. That's not bad. Than we intended, but we appreciate you hopping on. If you have questions, text me or Mandy or Chelsea and ask them, because we're going to be doing these every Monday for a while. I won't say indefinitely because seasons change, but we have talked about doing them for a while. But we have no problem you guys helping us decide what to talk on if you have something that you're struggling with or that you want to know more about. One of my girls actually was as the one who asked about the why, and it wasn't even my idea to talk about it this week. It was Mandy and Chelsea's. But as soon as they said it, I was like, so-and-so has been asking me to do a Zoom on like how to find a why and like connect to it. And so this was literally perfect. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. All right, guys, we're going to hop off here and we will see you next Monday. Bye.